that every body has a certain intelligence associated with that. That intelligence you cannot change. For example, a child has got the intelligence of a child only. A child cannot have the intelligence of an adult. If you take a small child, say 3-year-old or 4-year-old child, and start explaining sex life to the child, can he understand? Cannot understand, because the intelligence is not developed enough. The moment that child's body is given up by that soul and he gets an adult's body, 16-year-old, 18-year-old body he gets, immediately the intelligence is also corresponding to that body is given. Immediately at that time he can understand. So what in the child's body the child could not understand, the adult can understand. The intelligence in the adult body can understand. And every child, you will see, has the intelligence of a child only. You will not find a child, 5-year-old child, who has the intelligence of an adult. You cannot find. It's not possible. Similarly, if you take a dog, the intelligence that a dog possesses in a dog's body will be like that of a dog only. You cannot find the intelligence of a human being in a dog, or the intelligence of an elephant in a dog. You cannot find. The intelligence of an elephant is different, intelligence of a tiger is different, intelligence of a dog is different, intelligence of a human being is different. And every body, whatever the intelligence is designed for that body, only that intelligence that living entity can possess. And not only that, within this lifetime, when I'm born, the body is born with a certain level of intelligence. That level of intelligence cannot change. As we grow, our intelligence, the basic intelligence that we have, that cannot change. If I am, suppose in school, I am a very dull boy, I get only 50, 60 marks. So it doesn't mean that when I grow up and I become start going to PhD, I start doing PhD, there suddenly my intelligence will start growing and I'll become a scientist like Albert Einstein. Not possible. Whatever intelligence I am born with, that intelligence will continue as it is. My IQ level, whatever I have in this body, that only will be there. There is no way I can increase my IQ. There is no way I can, something I do, some medicine I take, some gymnastics I do, my intelligence will jump from, my IQ level is 65 now, it will jump to 125. Okay, you can do some adjustments, you can improve the efficiency of the brain, and from 65 you can make it 70, you can make it 72. You cannot jump from 65 to 150. So what we have to understand is that intelligence, because it does not belong to us, we cannot change it. Whatever is given to us, we have to live with it. Even if I want to, I cannot change the intelligence which I have got. Just like this body which I have got, I cannot change this body. Whatever I have got, I have to be satisfied with that. Similarly, this mind, intelligence and false ego also, whatever I have got, I have to be satisfied with that. So, why this becomes important to understand this is, we generally think that, first of all, we identify the thoughts which the mind, the machine of the mind generates, we think they are my thoughts. We identify ourselves with the thoughts very strongly. And therefore, whatever thought comes to my mind, I feel that is correct. Every person feels what he thinks is right. And when somebody else says, no, what you are thinking is not right, this is the right thing, he will get offended. Why? Because we are identifying ourselves so much with the mind that whatever my mind is telling, we want to think it is my thought. And therefore, when somebody refutes that, we get upset. And we give so much value to the thoughts generated by our mind that we feel whatever I think is right. Whatever I feel, that should be done. Whatever my mind is bringing forward thoughts, that should be done. And if somebody says, no, refuses, no, we cannot do this, the person becomes angry. And not only that, whatever I feel, I should be free to express. Freedom of expression. I should be free to express whatever thoughts come to my mind. That's called freedom of expression. That's something which is nowadays people are picking up a lot. But the reality is, these thoughts are not my thoughts. Mind as a machine, it has got its job is to generate thoughts, it's generating some thought. We don't even have the intelligence to evaluate whether this thought is correct or wrong. We simply, to my mind, if this thought has come, it must be correct only. We always ascribe correctness to our thoughts, or rather not our thoughts. The mind whatever our mind is generating the thought, we ascribe correctness to that. We never think, okay, this thought has come, it could be wrong also. We don't think. And not only that, with our intelligence, whatever we are able to assess about the world around us, we think that is the right thing. According to me, this is how this activity should be done. Now you go to your boss and tell him, this is how I want to do this. The boss says, no, this is not, I don't think this is correct. Let us do it another way. He has got his own mind and intelligence. His intelligence is dictating something else. Now what will you think? Oh, see, he is not allowing me to do what I am thinking. So he does not have the brains. He is not able to understand what I think is correct. And what it will lead to? It will lead to quarrels. It will lead to fights, anger, frustration. What to do? I'm so frustrated. Whatever I want, I go and tell this man, my manager, my supervisor, he will not listen. He will think something else. He will tell something else. He's not allowing me to do what I want to do. You are dictated by your mind and intelligence. Your manager, your supervisor is also dictated by his mind and intelligence. You cannot expect that his intelligence and mind should work exactly like your mind and intelligence is working. That is the mistake we do. So, this mind and intelligence, whatever it dictates, if we understand, this mind and intelligence is also dead matter. And if this dead matter is bringing forth some desires, some thoughts, some ideas, we should not be attached to it. Just like if this body is generating some desire, that is when we go in the street, now I'm talking about how a devotee approaches. Now when a devotee is going, if you are going on the street and you see some shop and there is some nice sweets kept there, now immediately your mouth will start watering. What does that mean? The tongue has started pushing. Oh, let me taste those sweets. But immediately you will say, no, there is bhoga, I should not eat that. Whatever is in the temple, you go to the temple, today sweet is there, no, all sweet got over. Okay? Krishna's desire, no sweet for me, I'll eat whatever is there and be satisfied with that. So we don't try to fulfill the pushings of the body. Similarly, we also have to learn to tolerate the pushings of the mind and intelligence and false ego also. Mind will generate some desire, doesn't mean that it has to be fulfilled. Just like we are not attached, we are detached from the desires that the body is generating. The tongue is generating, I want to eat this food, and we are detached. No, I should not eat bhoga. Sometimes the tongue will generate a desire. I want to eat these grains today. No, today is Ekadashi, I cannot eat. We are detached. We don't get frustrated. What to do? This Ekadashi, why this Ekadashi had to come today? We don't get frustrated. Today is Ekadashi, I don't eat, that's all. What if my tongue is pushing? I don't eat. Similarly, the mind is generating some desire, some idea. More than desire, it is idea. I got an idea, we should do this. After all, it is for Krishna, it is for service only. Let me go and tell my authority. And the authority says, no, let's not do this. Get frustrated. What is this? I want to do this. He's not allowing. Krishna's service only. Krishna's service, but that idea of that service is coming from your mind, which is actually dead matter. It is like this body only. It is a machine. So we should not be attached to even the ideas brought forth by our mind and intelligence also. My intelligence also, sometimes I'll feel, this Prabhuji, he is doing this in this way. According to my intelligence, this can be done in a much better way if we do this. And you think that your intelligence, whatever it is dictating, that is the right thing. We cannot be attached to even what the mind and intelligence also dictate us. That is why we have to practice Shama and Dama, both. One is Shama and Dama, means one is control of the senses, another is control of the mind. We have to as a spiritualist, we have to practice controlling both the mind as well as the body and the senses. It's not enough to just control the senses alone. Okay, I'm following the 4 regulative principles very strictly. I don't eat bhoga. I'm following Ekadashi. All these things I'm doing. Now, whatever my mind dictates, I will follow. No. We have to control both the mind as well as the senses. That is why the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Shama and Dama both are needed. This controlling the mind, controlling, being detached from the thoughts generated by the mind and ideas given by our intelligence, can be, that detachment can come if we understand that the intelligence and mind are not me. They are also jada vastu, like this body, and the machine of the mind and the machine of intelligence is doing its job. It is creating, it is giving some ideas, it is creating some desires, it is creating some thoughts. It will do its job. What should I do? I should analyze whether it is my duty to follow these or not. So if I have some doubt, I go and check with my authority. I've got some idea like this. Is this something good to follow? He says, no, not good. Drop it, over. Mind told something, it's not authorized. Forget it, leave it. That way, a devotee will never become frustrated. Otherwise, we identify ourselves too much with the mind and the intelligence. Very good chances are that we will get frustrated even in our devotional life.